Well, hello. Thank you for joining our session today. My name is Jamal Khan, and I will today be presenting a webinar on one of my favorite topics, which is demergers and complex restructuring of companies. I'm going to start the presentation, see if this can... Okay. Here we go. Here we are. So yes, it's I get approached on these matters quite regularly by accountants, by lawyers, quite a lot from lawyers and from IFAs, a lot of instructions from accountants where their clients have a business that they want to demerge or separate properties in a business or from a business or properties from each other. I'll talk about this in a while. This is just a little bit about us in terms of what we do. We specialize in tax planning, inheritance tax, capital gains tax, corporate tax, restructuring, demergers. So we do a lot of tax investigation work as well. Complex investigations going up to Code of Practice 9, tax tribunal work. Okay, so let's move on with the main topic. What is a demerger? So a demerger is separating two businesses within one limited company, or separating properties from trade, which are in the same kind of envelope of a limited company, dividing businesses into different segments. This could be, for example, if somebody started off with one business and now they, over time, for example, they had a warehouse, and then there was starting another business, for example, selling another kind of retail business. They started a retail business because of the warehouse, and they've both grown to be separate independent businesses. But they're still in the one limited company. What we could do is, for example, do a demerger or a reconstruction or a restructure so that each business goes into a separate limited company. This could be, for example, the shareholders have different objectives now. One shareholder is focusing on one, the other shareholder is focusing on the other business. Or, for example, if we've got a trading business that has been buying properties, and then the property portfolio has gone to a certain level where people have, what the shareholders are saying is too much risk to keep the properties and the trade in one limited company, because obviously if something goes wrong, then you lose the properties as well. So they want to separate out the properties. Or if you've got a business, you've got different segments in a business, and you want to divide those segments into multiple companies, separate limited companies, so that there is the risk from one going down doesn't mean everything goes down. So the other ones can be protected. This is quite important. When is a demerger needed? Yes. So this is what I've covered. This could be, for example, trades in two or more trades or properties in one limited company. There could be conflict between shareholders, or shareholders there might not be conflict, but they just want to go separate ways. There could be commercial reasons for doing so. For example, I just did something for a client. They had too many properties and everything in one company and a trade, and they were quite worried that if something goes wrong with the trade, they will lose their properties. Plus, they couldn't get the right mortgages, they couldn't get the right financing, so they had to separate demerge the business. There's long-term tax planning. People just want to go separate ways. So demerger is quite a useful tool, but if you do it effectively, demerger and I should say reconstruction, restructuring, it doesn't have to be a demerger, but if you restructure effectively, you can achieve the same results. Okay, so here's an example of something I've done quite recently for a client, and I'll kind of go through what it looked like. So we have a shareholder 1, shareholder 2, a limited company. that has a trade, that owns a trade and a property, that and also owns some investment properties. So it's trade in a warehouse and some investment properties, and they want to separate these two, the trade and the warehouse, from the investment properties, because there's a lot of risk, millions of pounds of properties here, and if the trade, something happens to the trade, or it goes into losses, or if somebody makes a claim, obviously the property too, or the other property, the investment properties, will be affected as well. So the shareholders are quite worried. Shareholders want to go separate ways as well. So this is a typical scenario that we face on demergers and restructuring. So what we would do here is, we would, as part of the restructure and demerger, we would set up new company 1 and new company 2 under the main business. We'd continue with would still have the trade and property business within AB Limited, but now we would set up new Co 1 and new Co 2. Then we would transfer the trade and property under new Co 1, and the investment properties under new Co 2, which is still owned by the same original holding company. This is starting to look like more of a spaceship or an alien ship, but wait for the next slide. Now this looks like a complex structure, but it's not. So what we have now is, we restructure once again, and now we've got A and B is just owned by shareholders 1 and 2, but it has no assets. But we do a reconstruction in such a way that shareholders A and shareholders 1 and 2 own new Co 1. So we do a share for share exchange here, and the trade co is trade and the warehouse is owned by new company 1, and the same structure for new company 2. So shareholder 1 and shareholder 2 own it, and the property, the investment business, is owned by new company 2 or new Co 2, and the original company that was AB Limited is still owned, but it becomes dormant. So what would happen next is that this company would essentially be dissolved, be liquidated. So we would have just new Co 1 and new Co 2 in two separate limited companies, and we've now divided the trade and warehouse business from the investment property business completely. This is quite a kind of a neat restructuring model. And you can play around with it. It does, so there's multiple ways of doing this, depending on the shareholder preferences. You could involve, for example, if you're looking for a kind of full-on demerger, then you might need to involve insolvency practitioners, because there's a Section 110 demerger. But on other instances, you might not need to involve insolvency practitioners, depending on what the final outcome is meant to be. Yeah, to summarize, so yes, first of all, we need a clearance from HMRC. We need to apply for a ruling request. There's quite a complicated clearance process involved. HMRC will challenge, why are you doing this? What is the commercial reason? So we've had numerous kind of applications that we've made, and HMRC have come back to say, well, what is the commercial rationale for doing so? So you need to have a full justification. This is not for tax reasons. This is purely for commercial reasons. Sometimes HMRC do get carried away in terms of trying to ask for a commercial reason, but they have no idea of how commercial the commercial reality of the real world operates, or why they could be doing in such a way. So you have to kind of make sure that you can put into plain words for HMRC. HMRC, once you file a clearance application, HMRC have 30 days to allow or reject. Then you start the restructure process. As I said, you might need to involve insolvency practitioners if you're doing a Section 110 demerger, but you might not need to. You can do it without the Section 110 as well, which is a lot simpler. You may need to get solicitors involved. It's a lengthy process, but there is you might need to get adjudication for HMRC or stamp duty, depending on the complexity of the case. The whole process, from my perspective, If you're doing a Section 110, getting insolvency practitioners involved and solicitors, you should allow at least 1 year. It takes a while. It's not easy. There's quite a lot of steps involved. But if you're not doing a Section 110, then I would say around 6 months or 7 months. You should allow at least, or maybe 5 to 6 months, I would say. But it's not an overnight process where you'd go to your tax advisor and by next week or within a couple of days, this should be done. It takes a while, especially if you're starting to have rejections from HMRC, or HMRC starts to make raise objections, then you're just going to and fro. But ultimate result, as I said, is that once you achieve this, and just imagine if I took out the company AB Limited, this would be a very unique structure. I meant to add slide 5 here, but I forgot. Okay, slide 5 would look like shareholder 1, shareholder 2, and new code without the AB code. Excellent. Okay, so this is me, or younger me, should I say. If you have any questions, my contact details are here, and I'd be more than happy to help. Thank you very much.